Hi all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ollie and this is Simply Stitchy. This is the channel where I share my passion for sewing and all things related to the hobby, with tutorials, how-to videos and some sewing tips. I collect and sew from vintage patterns and new ones when I get a spare 5 minutes, and I have an ever increasing collection of vintage sewing machines. In fact, I bought another one just a few days back, which you'll be meeting in a later video. These videos will cover the machines, the sewing, the patterns, and sometimes I'll throw in a little bit of history to boot. Today's video is all about old threads, but before we get into that, a couple of subscribers have given me some really useful hints in previous comments on previous videos, and what I thought I'd do is I'd share them with you today. So we'll get into that first. Bear with me while I move you so you can see the sewing machine. Now this first tip is from Megan, who watched my video on comparing a Singer 27 treadle to a Singer 128K. She rightfully pointed out when I got to the bit showing you how to thread the machine that you couldn't actually see what I was doing because my hands were in the way. So I thought I'd address that one today, and I'll show you what I was doing when I was threading it. So what we need to do is we take the thread to the thread guide around the tension discs. There's supposed to be like a little squiggly bit of metal sticking out there, but Grandma hasn't got one, so that's why I'm not threading that bit. And you thread it through the take-up lever. Oh, if you can see the hole in the take-up lever. Did that go? Yeah. Okay, now it's this next bit that wasn't obvious from my last video, and there's a little thread guide just there, and what I said I was doing was I was threading it through that thread guide, which I was threading it, but I wasn't actually threading it, if you see what I mean. Literally all you have to do is, rather than thread it through like I did with the take-up lever, is you hold the thread like that and you just slot it so that it goes through that little groove there. I'll bring you in a little closer, hopefully on the telephoto, so that you can maybe see that a bit better. So I'll just show you that again. Hold the thread taut in your fingers like that. Take it, oops, to the side of that little hook, I suppose you could call it, and you just literally slot it in at the back. I'll show you one more time. It's literally, you just drag it across until it goes into the slot like that, and that's all there is to it. Obviously from there you'd go to the guide that's on the needle bar, and then you'd thread the needle. The second tip comes from Naomi. Now you probably have heard me say in previous videos that some of these vintage machines don't do reverse. So what I tend to do, I'll just grab a piece of fabric a minute, just a sec. What I tend to do, obviously when you're starting off a seam, you put the press foot down, put the needle into your fabric, take a few stitches. I can't actually take any stitches at the moment because I haven't put my treadle belt on. And then what I was doing was leaving the needle in the fabric, lifting the press foot and turning the fabric around, which is fine, you can do that, especially on small projects. Naomi's suggestion is put your press foot down, sew your first few stitches as you would normally do, take your needle and your press foot up, move the fabric back to the start, put the press foot down and then start sewing. And what that does is you're literally sewing forward by a little way, and then by going back to the start of the fabric and sewing forward again, you're going over the top of those stitches, so that'll lock that seam in for you. So thanks for that tip, Naomi, that was brilliant, thank you for sharing. If any of you out there have got any sewing hints and tips that you'd like to share, let me know what they are in the comments, and I'll give you a shout out in one of my future videos. Today's video is all about old threads. When you're first starting out on your sewing journey, getting all the equipment and a stash behind you can mean a bit of a cash outlay. We all like to get things cheaper to spare a bob or two, me included. I'm the first to say check out your local charity shop or thrift store as a great resource for cheap fabric and notions and things like elastic. Even family and friends donating their old supplies can be a fantastic boost to a newbie's stash. There are some things that you should never use second hand though. Shoes, underpants, face masks and thread. The problem with thread is it has a shelf life, especially if it hasn't been looked after that well. Thread is susceptible to damage from dust, temperature extremes and too much light, especially older threads when they're made from natural fibres particularly, things like cotton. The sun is not a friend to the humble old thread, and it can cause thread to deteriorate over time, causing it to break easily. Let's take this black reel of thread here for a minute, if I can find the end. There you go. Now, I didn't pull that particularly hard, and you see how easy it breaks. I'm not sure where I got this particular thread from. I've got threads all over the place now. I don't even know if it's cotton. I could do a burn test on it to find out what it's made up from, but all I really need to know is it's an old spool of thread. The thing is, unless, particularly with these older cotton reels, unless it's got a sticker on, and you can date the thread from what the sticker looks like, there's just no way of telling how old a spool like that is likely to be. But let's have a look at a new reel of thread. This thread is from the cat bed that I made in the video before last, I think it was. If you've watched that video, you'll have seen me take the sticker off it, so you know it's a new reel of thread. You should go and watch that if you haven't already. The video, not me taking the sticker off it. You'll get to meet my cat. His name's Biscuit. The link to the video's in the description box below. Go check it out after watching this one. But watch. Oh, crikey. Did you see how much harder that was to break? If I was to use this black one in my sewing machine, it would be breaking every few stitches. Domestic sewing machines, depending on which make or model you've got, can sew anywhere from 650 to 1500 stitches per minute. Some can go even faster, and that speed causes friction. It also puts pressure on the thread. Now this thread isn't going to take the strain. It's going to drive you insane. You'll think you're to the blame, that your sewing's just lame, when in fact it's your thread giving you pain in the head. Want to cure your pain? Keep yourself sane? Here's what you should do. Make sure you buy your thread new. Once you've bought it, this is a new reel, it's still got the cellophane on it, you can make it last longer by not storing it out on your wall or out in the open on the top of your sewing desk. The best place for thread is a drawer, a tote, or even a tin, or in a box like this one. Biscuit's optional. The best place for threads is out of direct sunlight, away from dust and damp, and preferably at room temperature. Those are the ideal conditions for thread. The one thing that you really need to make sure is that you don't get thread anywhere near your machine. If it breaks easily, it's discoloured, or it's dirty. Like these two. I found these in Grandma's drawers. This one has been somewhere damp, because if you take a look, you can see that it's picked up the colour from another thread. Probably this one, to be honest, because it's blue. And this one's dusty and quite dirty. If you're new to this channel, I feel that now would be a good time to point out that Grandma is my CA27 treadle. She's from 1912 and she's got all sorts of old stuff hidden in her drawers. I think now would be a good time to move on from Granny's drawers. Anyway, the thing that you want to be particularly aware of with old threads is that you can't clean them, not even synthetic ones. If you put one of these in the wash, you'll end up with a bird's nest in your washing machine. If you try and hand wash it, all you're going to do is get the outside of the thread wet and it'll soak through to inside and then you'll just have thread wet on the spool. Did I mention that you're not supposed to store threads damp? Most all-purpose threads these days tend to be polyester or a polycotton. Take this one. It's... oh, I pulled the sticker off it. Just a minute, I do have another one. Let's have a look, where is it? There it is. Okay, let's have a look, see what it says. Where is it? Oh, it's 100% polyester. Synthetics are less likely to deteriorate as fast, and whilst it's true, a newer thread is likely to last a lot longer than one that's made out of pure cotton, for instance. They're still susceptible to dust and discoloration. The dust and dirt that is encased in these will unfortunately fall off into your machine as you sew with it. You might even find that it sheds little bits of fibre and dust off, and you'll find it'll be all over the bed and it's the same colour as the thread, and you'll think, ooh, where's that been? Straight into your machine. That's where it clumps unseen, causing you to scream. Stitches are skipping, it needs a deep clean. Worse, you might get a knotty noodle in your bobbin area, and that's never a good thing. A bit like my rhyming. Things you can do with old thread include, it's actually really useful for temporary stitching, you know, when you're tacking something together or basting it. You can use it for anything really that doesn't need to stand up to any kind of strain. So tailor's tacks, things like that, marking out your seam allowances. You could even fill a mason jar or something like that with a load of old cotton reels and use them as decoration for your sewing room or sewing area. Another thing you can do, particularly if your cotton is actually cotton or maybe silk or linen, it's biodegradable, so you can compost it. Not the reel that it's on, the reel's plastic, but the thread is biodegradable. The one thing that I'd be inclined to make sure of before you consider sticking it in your compost heap though is make sure that you've chopped it into little bits so that it can't harm any wildlife that might be rummaging through for snacks. Polyester, on the other hand, is a little bit like nylon in that it's petroleum based, which means it's basically plastic. It won't break down. So make sure if you are going to compost that it is literally 100% a natural fibre like cotton. The plastic spools can obviously be recycled because they're plastic. Check with your recycling facilities in your local area though, because even though it's plastic, not all areas will recycle all plastics. So just double check with them first before you start chucking reels willy-nilly into the recycle bins. Sometimes, and I know it's sad to say, but sometimes the only thing that you can do with an old thread is to bin it or chuck it in the trash. The one thing that you shouldn't do, never ever do, is donate it. Do not donate old threads unless you know they've been looked after really well and that they're in good condition and they're not breaking easy, because if you do donate it, you're just giving somebody else your pain in the head. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And why not go and check out some of my other videos. YouTube thinks you might like to see this one next, and I think you might like to see this one. Whichever video you go and check out next, I hope to see you back here for the next one. And if you've got any sewing hints, tips, suggestions, let me know down in the comments. And then you never know, if I cover the topic in a future video, I might just give you a shout out. Consider subscribing to my channel, and that way you won't miss any future videos, especially if you ring that little bell. YouTube will give you a handy notification when the next one goes live. And meanwhile, whichever video you go check out next, I hope to see you back here for the next one. Whatever you're sewing with, wherever you're sewing, embrace your creativity and have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.